Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
Left right field towards the corner.
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio. SVP and Russillo, the podcast.
Hey, it's SVP and Russillo. Appreciate you checking out the podcast. Some initial thoughts on the NFL draft. The guest list includes Les Snead of the St. Louis Rams, who tells us why they took a running back at the number 10 pick. Speaking of the Rams, a visit with Chris Long on everything under the sun. This isn't the biggest fight ever. It's just the most recent big fight. What's it mean in the grand scheme of things? We also talk about the great prediction from Ryen that the Clippers would get Game 6. It's a big Game 7 between them and the Spurs this weekend. The one big thing on the week that was virtually, and story time from both the fights and Ryan's days as a line cook. Podcast starts now.
SVP and Russillo.
Fights tomorrow night. We'll talk about that momentarily. The draft last night, for all the bluster, all the possibilities, all the intrigue, all the things that could happen, it was kind of, all right, cool.
Not that many surprises. I mean, a few guys that go into the first round that you didn't expect, maybe a few names that fall into the second. So that's not really the headliner. It's the headliner of Winston 1, Mariota 2. And the only thing I can think of, Scott, maybe there was just so much uncertainty about it because teams did a better job hiding this stuff, or teams really weren't that close to ever making any trades, or when you start looking at the prices being paid to move up to some of those top picks, especially when you're talking about quarterbacks, I feel like there's this excitement tax that gets thrown on in these transactions. Meaning the team that has the pick, say 1, 2, or whatever, whenever you want to start making those moves, it's we want a couple first-rounders, we want a player, and then can you give us one more first-rounder because you kind of win the night with your fan base. And some owners, more so the owners probably than the GMs, fall for it and pay that tax because it's going, oh, this is so exciting. We took that quarterback, we went ahead and got it, we did all these things, and teams probably just walked away from all this stuff. And now it's kind of regrouping after what was probably a lot of lies.
Yeah, and I don't. You never know, and I wonder how honest Les can be. Les Snead of the Rams will join us here, and just how much there's a lot of smoke and mirrors prior to. I understand that. I keep talking about sleight of hand. It's very necessary, but then I wonder after the fact how much covering of your behind you do when it comes to, say, Philadelphia. Did they try to get Mariota? And if they did, what were they willing to offer? And you need to protect the players on your team because no player wants to feel like he was essentially bait. And so you can't the day after, oh, yeah, well, we tried. Offered up about 6 All-Pros and all of our future drafts. But swung and missed, didn't get my guy. I don't know how much of that happens the day after the fact and how honest you can truly be. It is remarkable that every single team got exactly who they wanted. Nobody missed out on the one guy that they –
Number one on our board.
Is there a before we transition on to the fight? Is there a pick, or is there one specific thing that you liked about last night that's worth mentioning? We're going to be talking about the draft throughout the afternoon. Any specific? I really like this guy with this team, or any storyline, anything?
I mean, it was one of those things where a couple teams. Pittsburgh takes Bud Dupree out of Kentucky, so you go, okay, I guess he's awesome. And then Eric Armstead, as you mentioned, if he goes to San Francisco, I'm going to assume he's going to be good. If he went somewhere else, I think maybe it doesn't work out. So a couple edge guys there a little bit later, but there wasn't really any shock, and then it became whether or not Shane Ray was going to go, and then the Broncos decided to take him, which I can't imagine. I can't imagine other teams passing on Shane Ray, the teams, if they had him as a top 10 guy for what happened.
I'm always the human element. You know me, I'm the sucker for that stuff. I thought that there was some draft picks that you really like. First of all, I thought Cleveland, hey, you guys did smart stuff. Good for you. The Danny Shelton story is a great one if you're unfamiliar. And then the kid out of Duke that got picked, the guard that got picked out of Duke late, Laken Tomlinson, and just what a kid. I mean, the smile on that guy's face, that's what's memorable. That's what's memorable, those moments, those kids with their families. And again, Les Snead talking about the Rams and their pick of Todd Gurley at 10 as he joins us in just a bit. The fight is here. It isn't the biggest fight in the history of the world. It's just the fight we've waited for quite a long time, and we live in an era where we magnify anything and build it up into something more than it is even almost possible to deliver. That said, it's still a massively significant weekend for the sport, certainly for the city of Las Vegas, which really shed some light on an interesting Deadspin piece about why a lot of the things about Floyd Mayweather may not have ever seen the light of day out in Vegas. It benefits Vegas for things not to see the light of day there because this is a gigantic weekend for them. They all benefit from him fighting. What do you make of it? Big picture for the sport.
just trying to figure out what we'll talk about on Monday and how this happens. Like, can there be some epic moment? Can it be this last round knockout? Can it be an upset by Pacquiao? Can it be a controversial decision for either guy? Can there be something where we look at the sport differently? Because I think we go into these weekends expecting these events to happen, and I think the sports always hope to change. And you hear, can this save boxing? Well, no, it's not going to save boxing. Boxing's in whatever mode it is in right now, and it's certainly not dead.
It doesn't need to be rescued.
No. Well, look, the audience for boxing is different. The fact that boxing's back on network TV and doing some NBC stuff, and if you look at the pay-per-views for fights that we'll never talk about on the show, it's a very successful sport still, financially. This sport being, or at least this event on Saturday, because of the finances, this does not mean this is the biggest fight. Like, save the bandwidth on that stuff. I mean, it's inflation, it's population, it's live rights. So the idea, because the pay-per-view for this one is what it's going to be, the greatest ever, that this is bigger than 10 fights you could just lift immediately, it's just not that. But I have a hard time believing that anything plays out, Scott, on Saturday night that leads to us on Monday going, we look at boxing differently.
I agree with that. And just for perspective, keep in mind, back in the day, and I'll date myself a little bit about with this, but there used to be something called closed circuit, okay? PPV on your smartphone or on your dish, dialing up something you just want to order through the interwebs and watching it in your house. Cool. Hey, you want to watch Hearns? No, you want to watch Hagler fight Sugar Ray Leonard? We got to go to Cole Fieldhouse. There's a grainy video that looks like Sasquatch movies that were taken by somebody out in the woods, and that's how you can see the fight. So the idea of we're just much better at providing you the content to consume now. So, pardon me, grand scheme, I don't see it as being as monumental.
I just don't understand anybody that goes, well, this is the biggest fight. Look at the financial numbers, and you just go, it's not the same sport. The world, as we've talked about in the past, the world stops at some of this. Now, I do think, and this is something we'll talk about a little bit later, like the Derby's a great example of this. Now, there's no Derby outcome that makes horse racing different. If there's a Triple Crown chance, yeah, people care about that third race a little bit more. But if you get a Triple Crown winner, what, people signing their kids up with jockey lessons, it doesn't.
Your kid's kind of heavy.
There can only, you know what I mean? Like, there's certain things that are just events, and those events are great, and sometimes that's okay. And boxing has a great event this Saturday, but I don't know what it's going to be. The only thing I can think of over the last few years, at least the decade I've spent almost working here at ESPN.
You're about to get a watch or something, bro.
No, because I wasn't full-time for a long time.
Oh, dude.
So I'll probably get like a 4-year thing coming up here soon.
Maybe some tickets to the park.
I've got plenty of those.
Okay.
I've got that band. Anyway, back to
my fault.
Back to Russillo's solo at Disney. Soccer's the only thing I think I can think of where you go, World Cup, whatever. Cool, Premier League. Yeah, you get up early on Saturdays. And now you're going, no, wait a minute. It was different. It felt different this time around, and I think the sport of soccer is different. So all the times we ask, what does this mean? World Series, we need this matchup. Baseball needs this. Boxing needs this. Racing. I don't know that there's really any solution for those things.
I've always framed it this way. Is it a moment or is it a movement? And soccer clearly has had a movement to the fore where it's become more popular. EPL, it's a stateside event here, much more so than it ever has been. I'm with you. I think the Derby's a day-long thing. If it turns into a pursuit of a Triple Crown, yes. And then this fight is something that people have waited a long, long time for. I'm gonna get the fight. I'm gonna watch the fight. I'm interested to see what the outcome of the fight is. I'm not coming to Watertown.
Outsiders getting it. You're gonna pay for it?
I got like a day to unleash a zombie apocalypse, huh?
You got a bunch of hungry man. You're ready to go. You guys, your party's gonna be kicking. We all know that.
SVP and Russillo.
St. Louis Rams GM Les Snead, kind enough to spend some time with us on a day when they've got some picks to make this evening as the draft continues. Les, thanks for the time. You don't need to convince Ryan and I on Gurley. We're both massive fans of his at Georgia. He was there at 10. What went into the decision to make him your selection?
Well, like you guys, we had him at a grade level on our board that basically says, hey, he's a once every now and then type of talent. And we felt, that he was devalued because of the knee, and it was kind of a gift for him to be sitting at 10, and we couldn't pass it up.
How do you measure that versus is he the most specific need that we have as a team?
Well, I think, obviously we probably had more needs as a team if you look at it in just the need part of that. But also on offense, you want to score touchdowns. And I think this is the type of player that not only helps, you score touchdowns, but he helps the offensive line, he helps the quarterback, he helps the wide receiver. He even helps the defense and may steal a series or two from the opposing offense. So he's just one of those type of players, adding to, a guy we really like still, Trey Mason, and some of our other weapons, and I think we got better offensively.
Les Snead, the Rams, here with us, general manager. When you look at knee injuries, how are they different? I mean, how do you look at Gurley's and feel like, hey, no problem, 10th pick, we're all in, as opposed to other guys coming out of college with injuries?
Well, it's interesting, and obviously I'm not an expert, but we definitely hire some who are. But with knee injuries, a lot of things, when you look at the surroundings of the knee and what happened to certain, joints, cartilage, all of that type stuff. And so for knee injuries, which I guess is, a bad thing, it was a very clean ACL tear. So that just meant the surrounding part of the knee was still intact, not a lot of damage. So it's just, hey, let's heal the ACL and rehab him and get him ready to go.
When you look at your offense and waiting on Bradford and hoping it works out and him not being lucky enough just to stay healthy, how do you see your team now bringing in someone like Foles with the additions you'll make in the offseason?
Well, I think that we liked Sam. We loved his talent, but we needed stability at QB and maybe, someone who was going to, be there for 16 games, because when you go through the different QBs, and I give our guys credit, we've been through three guys, Kellen Clemens and Sean Hill, Austin, and they all won games for us. But it does set your offense back because you've got to, you less rhythm and you're not really, you have to change what you do according to their strengths a lot. So Nick is a guy that, he was a part of helping the Philadelphia Eagles get to the playoffs, and I that's a piece we really liked, and that's because of those skins on his belt, we like Nick.
Because you have to figure out the best price you can get for somebody. So when Bradford becomes available, and I know Chip after the fact, and we kind of laughed, but it seems like Cleveland was interested, and he said, look, Bradford, the team offered us a first round as soon as we got him. How many teams are willing to make that kind of offer for Bradford?
It was very interesting as rumors started to break that Sam was on the break and teams were calling. So there was definitely, I would say there's more than two teams interested in Sam Bradford, and I think they were looking at the talent. And the one thing for us, we weren't going to just get rid of him, because even if we would have got rid of him for very good draft picks and it's going to look really good on paper and you're going to get a very good positional player, we would have still been a team that was without a QB. And we all know, depending on what tier your QB is, you need a QB, and you need a good QB at some level to compete in this league.
Rams GM Les Snead, our guest. It's SVP Russillo on ESPN Radio. Do you like the ability to hit the reset button and go to bed, wake up fresh, and dive into the next round the next day, or would you prefer to just roll up your sleeves and get after it?
I actually like the reset button, to be honest with you. And sometimes I'm impatient by nature, so you're ready to keep attacking and going after things. But what the reset button allows you to do is take a little bit more rational approach at who's the best available players left. Do you want to move up and get one? Do you want to stay pat? Can you move back for more picks? So I think it gives everybody a chance to let things settle, strategize a little bit, and then move forward with the round 2-3 strategy.
Is it harder or easier to narrow your focus on the number of prospects that are in play for a pick as the rounds go on? I've always wondered this. I figure you've got a handful of guys at the top, and you can kind of make your pick. And as guys get picked off your board, which is more true? Let's say it's more difficult to figure out narrowing it down because there's so many people, or do you sharpen it as time goes by?
I think I tell people all the time the draft gets easier as time goes on, and probably for a negative reason, because other teams are picking players you might want. So when you go to pick, the guy you really want is usually kind of staring at you. He's standing out screaming, hey, come get me. Where when you set your board and you've got about a week and a half before the draft kicks off, you're staring at 200 and how many, so players, and you want a lot of them. So it's a little harder when you got to make those choices. So as the draft goes on, because other people are pegging or, taking players you might want, the guy you really want is kind of staring there, and they usually scream at you, come get me.
Can we talk about a year ago? Because I don't know if it was you, but it might have been your coach. But you guys did a pretty good job of getting the message out there that you could be taking Manziel at 2, and then it wasn't even close to happening. So congrats on doing that. But how did that happen?
Well, I think with even us saying we're going to get a message, I think as we've seen over the last few years, especially with the popularity of college football, obviously y'all's employers do a great job of really making, college football a big-time brand. It's a very, very popular sport. So when you get a dynamic player like Johnny Football or even a Tim Tebow, the QBs this year, those guys nowadays are kind of stepping into the draft process, as somewhat rock stars or at least college football stars. And they got a brand. And I think what happens is even if you're just slightly interested in case you fail to the second round and you go to work on him, it's going to, the story's probably going to build up, and there's probably going to be a little boulder effect or snowball effect that really wasn't your message, but the all things combined as, you like to talk about Johnny Manziel because people like to talk about and listen to people talk about Johnny Manziel.
That was an incredible non-answer. I mean, seriously, one of the greatest. Let's ask you something far more serious. We've had Chris Long on every week. We're big fans. We've covered recreational vehicles. We've covered movies, aging. Are you ready to say right here on the show you're going to make him the highest paid player in the NFL? Because we think he's has he told you? I mean, he's making a pretty dang good salary right now. Yeah, he is doing all right.
We're just trying to stump for a raise for our boy. That's all.
Oh, I mean, I guarantee you could, y'all are going to probably want to get me off, and if you wanted me for 5, you want me off in 3. With Chris, he seems like the type of guy you could probably go an hour with.
You're right.
And tell everybody, hey, we're not going to a commercial break.
No, Les is great. I mean, I love talking with Les.
I'm not saying we want to get rid of you. I'm just saying Chris has been on with us throughout the offseason, which has been getting fun. I want to ask you this very serious question on the way out. In a Western movie, would you rather play the outlaw or the sheriff?
Oh, great question. Here's I'm gonna answer it out of the box. If the outlaw has Robin Hood type morals, I'm going outlaw.
All right.
So I'll let y'all figure that out.
Surprised you didn't trade down.
Gotta have Robin Hood type morals.
Rob from the rich, give to the poor, something like that. I got you. Rob from everybody and get all the picks you want, Les. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate that.
SVP and Russillo.
No, for real.
You had the draft. You had playoff basketball. Hey, Bucks. Great season. You won a couple of playoff games. Typically, you don't see people lose by 60 in an elimination game. That doesn't happen often.
No, that was not great. It was good to see Joakim Noah out there, though. 4 minutes into the fourth quarter, up 40. So, this stuff.
Got to stay loose, Ryen.
Thibodeau's a great coach, man, but there's a line that you can cross, and Noah hasn't looked right for months. I don't get that one. And by the way, I know no one likes talking about it, but white guys in the NBA, the retaliation against them is far beyond. The Adetokunbo thing to Dunleavy is embarrassing.
I think the frustration level in the Bucks yesterday was
right. But what is Dunleavy done something to guys in the NBA that I'm not aware of?
He outscored him in a half. His total. He made him. I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. The Bucks just.
No one likes it when I bring it up, but I'm going to keep bringing it up because it's so painfully obvious that certain times when it's the white guy and the retaliation against him is more vicious.
120-66. That is not a final you often see. 4-2, the Bulls move on. I was able to very luckily catch the end of the Caps, a buzzer beater in hockey. That's rare. But the real entree last night for me, for you, for Wilbon, who was on with us, was what's going to happen in this Spurs-Clippers game. You called it. I said I thought it would be close, but I thought that the Spurs would win, and that's not the way it went. The Clippers and your guy, Chris Paul, were resilient. Paul was the best guy on the floor when it mattered most. My fear would be, as it relates to the Clips as they go home for Game 7, is are they just exhausted.
They were exhausted last night. They were exhausted in Game 5. I thought they were exhausted in Game 4 because Doc Rivers has to go all in with his starters. And going into the fourth quarter last night, it was 147 in starters minutes to about 119 for the Spurs. And the Spurs bench has been really the difference because I think the starting five for the Clippers is the better starting five. And last night, the Clippers are trying to hang on, and it's such a nerve-wracking experience for them because you can tell there's a few things. I mean, DJ's a mess at the free throw line, so they ended up taking him out of the game.
Had to
go hack a Jordan
because those last two that he shot barely scraped the front of the rim. There's times where he looks like, okay, maybe it's got a shot. I don't know if it was the moment or exhaustion or what, but those two he missed. I mean, if you're Doc, you're like, I'm sorry, I can't risk this.
And Blake, I don't think wants the ball. It reminds me of Garnett, Weber in their prime in the playoffs, where it's just who else can I pass this to? And then a couple times it's the pass back to Chris Paul, and you go, come on. But then I think Paul was so tired, they were actually running offensive sets where they just had Paul sit in the corner, and he ended up hitting a three off of it, but a few other possessions he was just sitting out. But then Bellinelli's keeping the Spurs in the game, and they're not playing Mano, and they're not playing Tony Parker. So the series, from a name standpoint for San Antonio, doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I think Pop, after the game, I don't know that you hear him a lot like this, how specific he was, because I think in one of the rare instances, like all these guys are worried and stuff about outcomes, but I think he knows that the Spurs team could go one of two ways on Saturday night, and I think he was getting ready to already call them out for Game 7.
And he did.
It's not, we didn't lose because of Kawhi Leonard. We lost because, the Clippers were determined, physical, focused, played harder than we did. We were soft with loose balls. We were soft. We'd get a rebound. They'd knock it out of our hands. Hard time getting open. I thought their physicality in that regard was great. And we were just soft, and it hurt. I don't know how we stayed in the game, to be honest with you.
I think that's a frustrated assessment, but I don't think it's entirely fair. I mean, there's two teams getting paid, and the one you're playing is your equal here, and they fought like hell.
The fact that it was 51 at the half was a huge win for the Clippers because the Clippers get that little lead going. Paul can't hit any shots. You can tell he's in between with his basketball decisions going to, I want to shoot it. Oh, I guess I'm open. Okay, I guess I will shoot it. And when you do that, it's too late. He had an alley-oop where he could have thrown it to Jordan, then he just missed a layup, and you're going, all right, he's got some assists, but you have to hit some shots. So even though the Clippers blow that early lead, they get up because Redick was so good early.
Well, then the Spurs got on a little run.
Yeah,
there.
Right, absolutely. And then when it's 51 at half, you're going, if the Clippers can hang on here physically, they might get this. And that's the way I look at a lot of games where you go, what's the score and what should it be? And I felt like the Spurs should have been up more at the half.
What does it take to win a game like that where you absolutely have to, your season ends, Doc Rivers afterwards?
No, we got to keep doing what we're doing, and, it's funny. Pop's been saying the same thing. I've said it all series. It's not been that many adjustments, more than it's been each coach yelling at their guys about execution, and I think I said that before Game 1, that's the way this was going to be. It's clearly two evenly matched teams.
What a Saturday. Derby, fight, and in the middle, you can hear Game 7 of the Clippers and Spurs right here on ESPN Radio. Tomorrow night, coverage starts at 7 Eastern time. The game is at 8 Eastern, so that's 5 out in Los Angeles. The thing about this Spurs team, they're the last team in the world I think you'd want to face, even at home in a Game 7, because you know that they know what's required. And that you might think you do, but they've done it. And I picked the Spurs a few games ago, and I'll hang on to it, but it's the same thing it's been throughout. It's just with a shrug. And you said the Clippers would win last night, and then they'd lose at home in Game 7. You're going to ride with that, or do you feel different?
I'm going to wait until tomorrow. I get through tonight's action, get through Brooklyn, Atlanta.
Today's the last day we're actually on the radio together talking.
I'm on TV all weekend, bro.
Hey, now. Pardon.
I have plenty of outlets to espouse this.
Do whatever you'd like to do. I just figured for our loyal listeners here, you might want to share any wisdom since
if they're real loyal, check us out. Stay in tonight.
You just got clarity, man. You got clarity.
I disagree with Doc on the adjustment thing. Now, it's not like you just go, hey, everybody, let's start running picket fence the entire time. So he's right about that. But they changed the way they defended Paul, and Doc sat Jordan, and you're right. I mean, you couldn't – I'd foul Blake. If Jordan's not in, I think I'd foul Blake late in games. I don't think he wants anything to do with that free throw line either.
I'd rather have him have to earn one at a time than have Paul hit those jumpers, man. He was so good. So good.
What was that?
Chris Paul was so good. He kept getting those switches, and he would just shake guys. He almost hit 2 different 40-footers that he had to take because the other guys in his team all needed diapers.
But Parker's not there to close, so that's different. And Mano played only 14 minutes last night.
If you're down a top 5 point guard, man, that'll hurt you.
SVP and Russillo.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It's time for Scott Van Pelt's One Big Thing. One Big Thing. On ESPN Radio and ESPNradio.com.
One big thing today is about this week, and it's the way that we consumed everything that happened around us. It started with so much anticipation about what was to come, at least here, given what we do, and a lot of that anticipation remains. That's what we've been talking about and will continue to talk about. Along the way, we and me, given the area where I grew up, got sidetracked with far more important matters. Baltimore exploded on Monday, and the images that we saw were searing. There are fires everywhere. The city is burning. You got rocks being thrown at cops and being thrown back by them. Michael Jackson impersonators are in the middle of it because, of course, they are. Why aren't they? A mom becomes seen as a hero to many for dragging her son out of the fray so he doesn't, in her words, become a Freddie Gray. There's stories shared for your inspection on all the TV shows across the country. And in this race to share information, it's side by side and all around. There's misinformation. Stories get shared about how Gray actually had an operation on his neck the week before. Pre-existing neck injury, shared as fact, except apparently it's not. Stories online about a planned version of the movie The Purge, but this one was a real-life purge, ominous sounding, a mob of young people intent on doing grievous harm to both people and property, shared as fact. And again, the veracity of that has been difficult to document as something real or a wives' tale born in an age where the access to information is unprecedented and the ability to make it up out of thin air and have it be taken as credible, again, is equally unprecedented. This is side by side. Again, in the same space, the internet with the theater of the absurd, a man whose job it is to stir up interest in basketball and the team that he works for, and he does just that with a tweet which causes faux outrage and ends with the tweet being deleted and him having to apologize to whom I have no idea, and then him naturally losing his job only a day and a half later. He has a new job courtesy of our friend whose show follows ours. He's now running the Twitter feed for Le Batard. On the topic of the draft, again, in this space that we all inhabit together, the internet, either Philadelphia offered 14 first-round picks, 9 players, 20 cases of Yingling, and Chip Kelly's brain for the number 2 pick, or they didn't at all. Either way, I'm sure that the fact that they didn't get the pick or didn't try to get the pick or make a claim publicly about either position, either way, I'm sure somehow it's Chip Kelly's fault. Then finally, we have Jameis Winston in an all-time troll move, which either, depending on your viewpoint, showed a sense of humor or a complete lack of self-awareness, gets picked number 1, then later sends out a picture in his jersey with what else? Some crab legs. People laugh, except for the people, I guess, who were mad. The tweet has been deleted and seen. Turns out the crab legs were actually sent to him by a guy who is on The Deadliest Catch, which is a reality show that's very popular about people who catch crabs. Again, the world that we live in. This is a week on the internet in 2015. We have unprecedented access to information and unprecedented ability to share it with the world, and somehow it all gets more complicated, and it staggers my mind why that's the case. It ought to make things simpler, and all it seems to do is make things more difficult than they need to be. Ryan, you've talked about it often as it relates to our job. Access to more information should give us more clarity, but it doesn't. It makes things more muddled. And all of it, the totality of it this week, has been something to behold. As for the Winston thing, we didn't talk about it earlier on because we were moving on to the fight. Apparently Tampa wanted him to take that down. What did you take of it? It made me laugh, but then I can shrug and go, well, I can see why the team would say, is that the best idea?
It kind of depends on what team you're on, right? If you're Team Winston, you think it's funny. He's poking fun at himself. It's not that big of a deal. If you're somebody that doesn't like him. I told you yesterday, I was comfortable enough without really knowing that I would look at a team and say, if you want to take him, go ahead and take him. I wouldn't be one of the talk show hosts that go, that's a mistake, you can't do it, he's immature and all those things. But just figure it out. Be a little smarter. Because, you did – the story gets out, and I believe the story that it was a hookup. But I think you just try not to give everybody ammunition 5 minutes after you've just been drafted number one. That's all. But I think the funny thing about everything that's going on, as you just perfectly outlined it of the week, is that we always talk about, we can interact and we can do this. The more I think about it, the less I want to hear from everyone at the same time. So I don't even look at Twitter this whole week. I don't look at it during the show because I think it's bad for all of us that do this job, because then we end up, because the crazy opinions end up being great fuel for segments, because you can be like, and this guy said this, and you go, well, because one guy tweeted a ridiculous theory to you. It's great for us in the job because it gives us motivation to get through segments if we want to do it. But I don't know, man. The more I think about it, there's some really great benefits to it. But at the same time, maybe I'm somewhere where I go, maybe I don't need 500 opinions within 2 minutes on one topic.
That was my sense. I was just sitting there this morning, and I'm looking at just these images of the week, and I'm thinking about the serious and the way some of these stories became stories, whether they were rooted in fact or not. And I thought about that very point that you make, because, and I'm far more guilty of this than you, it can become this echo chamber where it becomes, this is what people are saying. Is it people or is it a person?
Look, we're all guilty of it. I'm not doing this for the show, but I'm doing the same thing as everybody else, because, we're consumed by it. But look at the Baltimore thing. We didn't really talk about it at all during the show. But I just watched, and I saw the fire hose get stabbed, and I said, man, that's these firemen are just there trying to put out a fire. And then it turns into, you don't know, you can't say, and you just go, wow. I'm not allowed to even talk about that now, I guess.
It's been the week that we shared together, in a time, as you say, where everyone gets there. Bob Lee's had a thing on his door for years that said, freedom of speech just makes it easier to identify the idiots. Sometimes I'm the idiot. Sometimes the rest of you guys are. I'm getting ready to say something just remarkably stupid.
SVP and Russillo.
You are listening live. Don't get all defensive with Chris Long.
I've been down the Mississippi, down through New Orleans.
We've enjoyed this a lot. My fear is that it could be coming to an end. I don't know. Maybe we'll be able to continue it as we get to the OTAs and camp and all the rest. What's going to happen with this, Ryan?
I think we should do something like, if you go up against the Giants and you can go, what part of Justin Pugh's games are overrated? And we just film sessions with Chris.
So you just want to basically create bulletin board material for the other teams.
No,
and boost your ratings, Ryan. Thank you.
No, Chris. I want to know who can play and who can't through the players' eyes. I want to.
We don't like saying that. It's a dance, right?
I understand it's a dance.
That's why we've enjoyed this.
It's like a PG-13 dance.
It's PG-13.
We're looking for R-rated dancing.
We got a little splash of R in there.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Don't be the PG-13 guy. Be the guy in the rated R movie.
Yeah, where we cuss a lot and beep it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm tired of you guys respecting your opponents so much. But anyway, moving on.
So you guys go with a back, number 10. Zach Stacy tweeted out, yikes. What was your reaction?
Well, listen, they think that kid can be really special. They think he's one of those once in however many years you want to say, 5-10 year type backs. I've enjoyed watching him a lot in college. Obviously, he's been a man amongst boys, even in the SEC, in a power conference, and he's got the NFL frame, and all accounts he's a great kid. And I thought he handled himself really well last night. And you learn a lot about somebody by their interview after they get drafted. If you guys notice that, it's just it's like a window into somebody's personality. And he handled himself well. He said the right things, and hey, it may not be the number one position in need, but if you got somebody who you think is a generational player, you go get that guy. You talk about some people think we need O-line. It's a lot easier to find a lineman than a back like that. So we got a really good group of backs, so it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out.
When you guys watch the draft, what's that like? What do you guys do? Your boys texting? It must be nonstop, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I watched it in my house, and it's less about the football sometimes than it is about the little things, like who's the guy got at his table. how's his girlfriend acting, how's his significant other acting, how's his parents acting, who's squeezing to get into the picture if they're at the dude's house, because it's a game within the game. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and like last night we were watching, you notice the first 2 picks aren't at the draft. What does that mean for the draft? Does that mean was Goodell freaking out? Were some of the NFL folks freaking out because they didn't have their top 2 picks there? I thought it went pretty smoothly. What if it rained? That was an outdoor draft, wasn't it? I mean, that was kind of like there was a canopy. But, I mean, it's just all this interesting stuff that goes into the draft that I kind of look at now that I've been through it. And, and how's everybody acting? How are the guys interviewing? Because it's live TV. There's a lot of people watching, and, you can screw it up.
Chris Long with us. Let's get weirder then, because if you're talking about girls at the table, I don't remember going back to when you were drafted who was sitting at your table, but I mean, that girl's going to be pretty special for her to be in that spot, and she also has to bring it or she's going to get destroyed, therefore you're going to get destroyed. And then you got to figure if you break up, then you have to watch you get drafted with your new girl while you were sitting with your old girl at the round table.
Awkward, yeah. If you're running back the old DVR to relive some of your glory days, and you consider the draft the pinnacle of your athletic career, and you got, 2 X's ago sitting at the table, it's not a good look. And especially if you want to bring the new girl into the fold and say, hey, check me out, Chicago prime time, look at my suit. Who's that in the background? Don't pay attention. That's my cousin or something. Yeah, it's just awkward.
Who are the guys in the upper deck? Oh, those are the guys that started the fire in the motel in Moonachie and were asked to leave the premises. Stuff like that.
Jersey. Yeah, it was Jersey.
Yeah, understood. What's the most intriguing thing to you this weekend? Because you're a huge sports fan. The thing I appreciate about you, the list is lengthy, but high on that list is I'll just get a random text, or apparently Ryen more these days than me, just about games and such. You're a fan. What's the most intriguing thing to you about this weekend? The fight, the derby, the playoffs, what?
Well, this has been I think everybody agrees. First you got the draft. You see where some of these guys go. It's a lot of fun. If you're a supporter of a college or a team, you got something at stake. You got the derby. I'm not really into the derby. I think it'd be fun to go and drink a bunch of beers at the derby, but I wouldn't pay attention to the horses. I know there's some guys that are really into it. Seems like a lot of build up for something that's over pretty fast. But you got the fight, which I think even if you talk about them being a little bit out of their prime, that's something we've been waiting for a long time. I remember being in college, we packed 80 dudes into an apartment to watch Mayweather De La Hoya, and that's one of the sports highlights of my life as being a sports fan. And that there's a certain atmosphere that a big fight brings, and I don't care if these guys are a little past where we wanted to have it happen. If you like sports, there's nothing better than a big fight. And the NBA playoffs are awesome. There's some college basketball purists out there, but I think the NBA playoffs are almost as good, if not better, than the NCAA playoffs, because you got a series. You got to win it 4 times, and these are the big guys playing, and it's a lot of fun. So it's a great weekend, and I'm sure it'll be interesting. Who you guys got in the fight?
I'm going to take Mayweather and root for Pacquiao.
Yeah, that's the smart thing to do, I think. The styles don't really match up for Mayweather, I don't think, from what I hear from people that know boxing. So
breakdown.
I like boxing. I don't know boxing. So
yeah, basically all of us are the same. I think that's fair.
Right.
We know you like the ponies, though. How did the extravaganza last week work out with the
Dennis the Menace?
Yeah, Dennis the Menace, the van.
Dennis the Menace was good. Got through the whole day. Didn't have to jump it. We packed 12 people in there. It started good. It ran good. Actually, we set up a duck blind next to my plot, and it was a nice little VIP section. You could see out, but you couldn't see in. It was a good weekend. It was rainy and cold. It was really good beer drinking weather.
So you had a VIP next to your $1,200 conversion van.
Well, yeah, there's different levels of VIP. There's
obviously,
there's the Dennis, the Menace, there's the Dodge Coachman conversion van, which has a bathroom in it, so that's coveted space. And then you got the duck blind, which is the upper echelon of VIP.
Hey, I'm going to go to the NBA Combine, and I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to go in a couple weeks in Chicago. So why don't you go, and then I know the equipment guy, and I'll get you a tank top, and we'll just throw you out there and start running around.
Just throw me out there and just see, and maybe nobody will notice that I'm not supposed to be there, and we can kind of rate my measurables.
And we can put you through the whole thing, and then get you in the power forward group.
I think that'd be awesome.
I'm not saying that you'll have an undraftable grade.
I'm part of Ostertag, part of Big Country Reeves, with a little splash of Hornacek.
That's a nice mix, right there. You don't hear that a lot.
That's a coveted skill set because it's rare that it's rare you find them together.
It's hard to get all three, yeah.
Thank you for the time as always.
Okay, guys, take it easy.
SVP and Russillo.
Mayo's the best condiment.
Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. This season, the Mets have been a tale of two teams. One of the league's best at home and one of the worst on the road.
Towards the corner.
This weekend, they'll be at home at Citi Field facing the Marlins. Will their home field domination continue, or will Giancarlo Stanton lead Miami to a road win? The Mets and Marlins. The pre-games at 3:30 Eastern, followed by the first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. SVP and Russillo.
I wanted the 30-minute version of Mars, Pump Up the Volume. Back in my line cook days, I was really a prep cook, so I wasn't on the line. I'd be burning pasta. The guy would yell and go, "Pasta!" And
where was this?
The Black Dog, where they have those famous T-shirts. I was summer of 16, summer of 17. I was a prep cook, so I'd have a list of all the things I have to prep. Used to have to do this sour cream, green apple, and horseradish thing for swordfish that people seem to really like. And I would always, without fail, forget to check on the pasta. I would overcook it. So if you had overcooked pasta summer of 91, summer of 92, it's probably my fault.
And you would love to hear Pump Up the Volume?
Yeah, we would get – well, I wouldn't. We had some guys that were just, let's just say, relaxed. I didn't really fit in very well, and my job was not there waiting for me when I came back.
So what I'm taking is you were young and not high, and maybe the other guys were older.
But I still got into Pump Up the Volume. I would turn and go, "Hey, is this the 30-minute version?" And the guys in the line would turn to me and be like, "Yup." Nice. I'd be like, "All right." I mean, that's where I learned about a lot of music. I mean, Aquarium Rescue Unit. First time I ever heard Fish. I think that 90 maybe. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, yeah. Remember this video? Like, was this filmed in space? Because that's expensive.
In unison, every head bobbing on the show by him.
I think I'm going to download this for the workout today. I'm not kidding. Bad Music Friday? How about the Best Music Friday?
That's what it really is, on the low.
I remember one of the older guys that was kind of the fish guy, so he was the only guy that was allowed to cut fish because he was great at it. And he was always the guy going, "Pasta!" And that was immediately he knew I screwed up the pasta, and then he'd be like, "Scrape it off the bottom," and then I'd have to throw it out, and he'd get mad at me. But that song would go, whatever version our guys had on tape, it would go on for so long that if an older guy was working, he'd be like, "How long is this song?" And guys would just be so fired up in their saucepans, just going, look. Going, well, I can't say it, but it's a meat group. It's a cured meat.
But then later, after you were a little more successful and older.
Not successful, older.
You went to Vegas for fights.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything better? I know we say it all the time, but I cannot express enough. All you bucket list guys, all the things, SEC football on Saturday, yep. Go with 4 or 5 of your buddies, not just to Vegas, but go for a fight and take it in.
There was a phone call made to one of my best friends this week. And I said, it's not just sad that we're not going, because we're all in just different places in life. Just the idea that you're going to tell your bride, your kid, or kids, plural, hey, Dad's going to go to Vegas, and when I come back, I'm going to be functionally useless for several days on the back end. I'll see you when we get back. It wasn't so sad to me that we're not going. It was far more sad that no one even called to try to scheme about a plan that wasn't going to happen. Because, to your point, my core group of guys that used to go all the time, we were there for big fights, and there's nothing that's quite like the scene is not duplicated. It can't be duplicated because you have the backdrop of Vegas, which is the perfect canvas for any and everything you can think of. And this week, I would think every big-timer in the game is going to be out there. Athletes, recording artists.
Did you ever for a moment think about going out?
No.
Because you could have gone out for work, right? But then how would that have played out?
Well, to parachuting in, look, 48 to 72 hours is the max by law that you can go be there and expect.
Max Bredis is there for 9 days.
But see, that guy he danced for money in Italy. So I mean, his whole
part Cuban.
Yeah, his
He's
life
like 9 days.
Yeah, his life experiences are different than ours.
I've done longer stretches in Guatemala,
Milan, the couture collection. It didn't dawn on me because I didn't want to go for a day. In other words, do the show, fly out tonight, be there for a day, do SportsCenter Saturday, and be in McCarran on Sunday with every human in the world just trudging through lines. It would be death.
All right, so what's your best fight experience, Vegas?
Rockbond, Lennox Lewis.
Was that the one where he had a baby on his head?
No, that's the one where he got knocked out.
Yeah.
And when when he fell, that's a big man. And there was that moment where he got hit, and it was the moment where the oxygen gets sucked out of the room because everyone realized that he's knocked out on his feet, and it's quiet. When he hit the mat, the sound could be heard where we were, which was up in a suite, sitting next to the dude from Christopher from The Sopranos. No big deal, nice guy. Next box over.
Imperioli?
Yeah, great guy. Next suite over.
So your guy, did he recognize you?
We chatted briefly. I mean,
he loves the ponies.
He gave out a vibe where it was like, I'm good, you're good, we're both good. We gave each other the nod. Hey, big fan. Okay, off to the next. Jenna Jameson in the suite over.
What does she do?
I don't know. I could never figure that out. It was just, it was evident that people thought she was important. Never heard of her or seen her. First time I'd ever seen her. But the spectacle of that and the leaving of the building, that's the most hardest thing in the world to describe, is that it's this cattle call of humanity leaving the place. And Lewis is in the middle of the people. There's thousands of people walking through this giant, like it's built for Paul Bunyan-sized humans. And there he is just in a towel, knocked out, and people are clowning him. And it's just like, are you kidding me? And it's every form of life, wealthiest to the poorest, drunkest to the most sober, sinners and saints. They're all side by side walking out. And then it's off to the club, off to the tables, off to the pool, off to wherever for the next thing. And now that I talk it through, it's a crime that we're not there.
Yeah, but you're older now. Whenever my friends go, or somebody has to go for something, they go, oh, it's not the same. I go, no, you're not the same. Okay, things change, things are different, but the experience, the mood, what you're willing to put yourself through, the feeling you're willing to have on Sunday, like it changes. It changes for everybody. Older guys that have been through the wars before are listening to this right now in their 50s laughing, going, yeah, that's part of figuring it out. So I don't like when my friends say everything's changed. My thing when I went out there was that we were there for every fight to cover it, which, again, and I brought this up before, the biggest scam going in the history of local radio, because we had a really good relationship with the boxing networks, and they would fly our Boston show out that almost no one was listening to, and they would put us up, and we would talk about whether or not Mike Timlin should be re-signed for 3 days.
Dude, Timma?
Right. So we got to meet everybody, though. That was the cool thing. Like, I met Floyd Mayweather's dad, senior, and he was talking about Floyd, and we're going back 10 years ago now, man. I mean, I think it was 2003 was the first year I started working in Boston, and it was, and that's when I first started going out. And we met, Freddie Roach, and sat there and talked with him, and the stuff that he said off the air was funnier than any of the stuff he said on the air. And you'd be around these guys, and I think it's funny because, and I'm not connecting this to Floyd Mayweather's legal problems, but this is such a small world of boxing, and the hatred towards each other is so much more real than any other sport, and it's because it is a combative sport. Like, I want my guy to beat the hell out of your guy. And I don't know that turns people off, but I guess I'm just, like, there's so many screwed up things about this sport, but when you're there on the ground floor and you're around it, you know how screwed up it is, and it makes sense that it's this screwed up, and you love every minute of it.
Everybody's out there. We're here holding it down.
Yeah, I like this spot, though. I feel like we can see it from a wider lens, you know? We're not too close to it to not.
Scott, were you like when you were younger, were you like a wanderer in Vegas? Like, you had a group of guys you were with, but I could see you, like, disappearing over to a table that you had your eye on, maybe.
Sure. I mean, I think there's a pack. There's a pack mentality, but then you go lone wolf at times. You need to. The thing that you learn in Vegas, though, is if there's your crew and then there's another fringe group of guys that, hey, we're at this place, you got to – no. Trying to coordinate and get to the other place and go through the lines, or some people, and just get to the table, the whole bit. If you're at a place where you're having fun, just stay, because the search for a better time is fruitless. It's a search that doesn't end. And I tweeted this out the other day. This week would be the worst time ever for the bigger boat syndrome, where you think you're supposed to have it, like, I'm supposed to have this suite, I'm supposed to be able to play at that table, I'm supposed to be able to get this table in the steak joint, I'm supposed to be able to get this table in the club. Nope, and nope, because everybody's got a bigger boat. And that would be the one. That's the one thing about this that I kind of don't miss.
I don't care. I'm on TV.
Boom.
Hey, nice boat. What time's your show on? Oh, you don't have one?
That's a trump card you can play.
Just kidding.
I know, I'm teasing. I remember very fondly the fights. It is a circus unlike anything else. Anything else.
Oh, what do you got? You got some rosé over there? Where'd you meet her? I'm going to guess it wasn't I wasn't a friends and family thing there. Online? Yeah. 1 to 3. Sometimes 1 to 2 football season, but 1 to 3 during the summer. ESPN News. It's a better home for us. That's what we're told.
Yeah, no, you guys won't face as many problems. There won't be as many things in your way there. You guys will get.
No, I know it looks like a nice suit, but I'm just 1 to 3, and the app, which is they fixed a lot of the technical issues. But you guys have fun tonight.
Audio, a lot of ways to get it. Yep. What'd you pay for that Grey Goose? How many? 4 bottle minimum? No, we're good.
You see that kid with the Hawkeye hat? He bought me this because they love our college football stuff.
Red Sox host the Yankees. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN Radio app at 8 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the Watch ESPN app, where we are also seen on the show that we have that you don't.
I hope people think this is funny and not. I guess that we do.
I don't care because we're still going to be on TV.
Earlier today on SVP and Russillo.
Both of these are girlfriend related. Give me some Ja Rule before the end of this day.
I remember I had a cold one time, and the girl I was dating at that time said I sounded like Ja Rule because I kind of had that scraggly voice.
Yeah.
Great compliment.
All right. How'd that one end?
She dumped me in like a week.
It's a tough one.
I loved it. It's honesty. It's emotion. It's just learning about mistakes. I like how open you are on the show, Mike. It adds a lot.
I sounded just like this.
Do some over the top of it.
Spit.
So baby girl, put it on me. Imagine that with a cold, that voice.
Oof.
Just like him.
All kinds of phlegm in there from smoking butts.
Friends are probably calling you. Are you on the market?
By the way, that's a banger right there. That comes on, and no one's not happy. A better way to say it is everyone is happy when that comes on, right? Come on. That was when it was mandated by law that Ja Rule had to be in every song for that period of time. Speaking of girlfriends, can get sticky. Maybe you're with a lady, you go to the draft, and then later you're not, or there's an ex, and you're just trying to sort things out.
Watching Classic.
Yeah. Hey, here's the draft, baby. Let's watch. Ooh, let's not watch. Why? Well,
my girl used to use men's deodorant. Can't roll with that. Like, how come my right guard is low again? You're not playing pickup hoops.
Chris Long on the that sticky situation?
Awkward, yeah. If you're running back the old DVR to relive some of your glory days, and you consider the draft the pinnacle of your athletic career, and you got, 2 X's ago sitting at the table, it's not a good look. And especially if you want to bring the new girl into the fold and say, hey, check me out, Chicago prime time, look at my suit. Who's that in the background? Don't pay attention. That's my cousin or something. Yeah, it's just awkward.
That was the start of his answer, because I go, what do? You're on your second or third girl, and he just goes, awkward, yeah. As if I don't know. I can't keep track of him. I know he's locked down now, but I'm just saying, I don't know who was at the table 10 years ago.
The only specifics I know about the draft or what he shared with us, I don't know who the lady was. It could have been his now bride. I don't know. All I know is his knucklehead friends got kicked out of a motel for starting a fire because he had a thick group of knuckleheads. Advanced level chicanery was going on. But, yeah, he thought that went through a lot.
He didn't have that question ahead of time. I mean, this isn't NFL Network.
No, we
didn't tell him ahead of time. We just gave him the question on the spot, and he rolled, and that's amazing. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah,
need it ahead of time.
Would you rather be Ja Rule or Cisco now?
I know Ja Rule had a valley there, right?
A bad one.
But then he also, I believe I saw him on one of those morning shows where it was just a bunch of people yapping, and he had a cookbook on stuff he made while he was in jail. I'm not being funny here. This is real. So, published author. I don't know the latest on him. What's the latest with Cisco? Anybody Google him?
I don't know. I know Ja Rule was on with Levitard for like 40 minutes. He was fascinating. And he's got a prison cookbook. So that's the winner.
Right?
Yeah. All right. What time can we see you tonight?
Oh, man, that's a great question. 1 a.m.?
Ish.
I think. Wait, on TV or late night?
Both. Check them out. Y'all enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here Monday. We're going to leave with a fight or not? We'll find out.
SVP and Russillo. Miguel Cabrera leads the Detroit Tigers into Anaheim to face Mike Trout and the Los Angeles Angels. The pregame's at 7 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 8. Sunday on ESPN2.